Welcome, everybody, to Progressive HR Live. I am Corinne Woodman-Hollowbeck, your host and founder of Progressive HR. I'm here today with Chris Barcus, co-founder of Tactic. Hi, Chris. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Fantastic. Well,
Great.
we are going to wait a little bit for everyone in the audience to join on. And while we're waiting, where are you tuning in from, Chris?
So I'm actually tuning in from the great city of Salt Lake in Utah. So it's a great place. We're seeing 60-degree weather this week. I'm not a winter guy, so super stoked that I can go out and hit the link soon. On the golf course. So
That's excellent. I am also a golfer. I'm not saying I'm a good one, but
hey,
I'll say semi good one.
that's great. That's all. Hey, as long as you can, hit the ball and it doesn't, go backwards, you're all right. So
I've won. We have like a family golf competition each year, and
mhm.
so I've won women's longest drive twice now in a row. So
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So then you are a golfer. Yeah. All right. You were being humble, but that's impressive. That's very
well,
impressive.
well, if driving is the only thing that I can do, does that still make me a golfer?
That's literally one of the hardest parts for most people, especially for one of our co-founders, Reed. He can't drive. His ball goes, sailing off to the right. So, you could probably beat him.
All right. Well, we're still waiting for a few more people to tune in. I'm just taking a look now to see who we've got. We've got about 9 people on the live. So if you just joined the live, welcome to Progressive HR Live. I'm Corinne Woodman-Hollowbeck, your host today, and I'm here with Chris Barcus, co-founder of Tactic, where remote and office work meet. And I'm really super excited for this live today because we're going to be talking about this really innovative and interesting new HR technology. So, Chris,
Yes.
let's go to our audience and see who we have tuning in because I see a few people here.
Perfect.
All right. Jasmeet from India is tuning in today. Hi, Jasmeet. Thank you so much for joining
Hello.
us. So while we're waiting here, one more quick question. So Chris, did you hear the big news that Ford just had the announcement that they're doing 30,000 workers into a not a remote model, but a hybrid flex work model. So this is going to be pretty amazing.
That's awesome. No, I mean, Ford's a huge company, so that's super exciting. I mean, you're talking about thousands and thousands of employees, and my understanding, they're very traditional, right? They've stuck to their bones as far as people, in the office every day. So it's exciting to see, big corporations, announce big announcements like that, for the future of the workplace. It's exciting.
Yeah, more and more steps towards that hybrid work model. Reed says, haha, thanks for making fun of my golf game when he can't defend himself.
He knows what I'm talking about.
And we have Joanne Kruger from New Berlin. I think a few weeks ago, Beth Ridley and I had this conversation, but is it New Berlin or New Berlin? So we'll have a interesting time with that, continuing here with Joanne. Joanne, welcome to the live. And then we have a LinkedIn user, I'm going to see that is Kristen Strunk, and I believe it's not Whitefish Bay. Is it Whitefish Bay that she's tuning in? Maybe, but from Milwaukee area. So hi, Kristen. All right, well, we can wait for a few more people to tune in. Everyone, if you have a question for Chris about Tactic, please let us know in the comments. We're here for a Q&A. Some of my questions for Chris mixed in with your questions, and then a really awesome demo. And then as well, we have Austin Hale, one of Chris's co-founders, who is in the comments right now. And if you have any questions, you can also ask about Tactic. You can ask Austin, and he'll be dropping some great links for private demos, for the website, and to contact Chris, Austin, or your other co-founder. A few more hellos before we get in there. Kristen says Fox Point, North Shore. Yes, I remember North Shore because we talked about Bayshore before. And Austin says, hi, everybody. All
Hello,
right.
Austin. We're so glad to have you, Austin. Thanks for joining.
Yes, thank you so much, Austin. And Austin's joining from Utah as well. So, and then we have Angelica Gonzalez. Hello, Angelica. How's everything going?
Hello.
All right, let's turn off my phone, which keeps on going, beeping on, and then we will start our live. So tell me, what is Tactic and what is your mission?
Great question. So at a very basic level, Tactic, we're a software, SaaS software designed to help companies prepare for the future of work. So much like Ford just announced, they're moving to a hybrid model. That's exactly what we built Tactic for, is to help tackle the challenges that, might come up when running, a hybrid model, which is, where people are going to be mixing in office and remote work. Now, our mission, I think, there's really, as far as our company itself, the mission is really to get people back in the office safely in the short term, and then long term empower employees to really feel included in a hybrid working model, where again people are going to be not face to face every day anymore, as they were years ago. So that's kind of where I think our mission really fits in, and we're really here to help people make that transition and make employees and employers feel comfortable with that type of working model.
Thanks, Chris. And then
Yeah.
why did you develop Tactic?
Great question. So funny that you asked, but I had actually accepted a job really before, a new job about basically a year ago. I'd been in talks with this company, really before the pandemic even hit, for a few months, and odd timing. Right when I had my first day was the first day that company had ever even tried remote work, and and it was great. I mean, they did everything they could, but a lot of employees didn't have laptops. They were very much butts in seats is the term, and they had their desktops that they would have to show up to work to use. And long story short, I was supposed to be managing teams and getting to meet people and traveling out to New York to meet other team members, and none of it happened. And no fault against their own, but it was very hard initially because the company wasn't set up for remote work. And I really I'm all about collaboration and camaraderie, and I think the biggest thing that was lacking was that. And so I love the flexibility of the remote work, right? And I didn't have to just be at the office to be at the office anymore. But at the same time, I really missed collaborating, meeting people, and building real relationships that are kind of hard otherwise, especially as a new employee. And so the idea was like, I don't think that this is going to be forever, even though a lot of companies were saying that. I thought that there was going to be a more hybrid model where, yeah, of course, let's not go back to the office 8 to 5 every day anymore, but let's definitely adopt a new model where there's more flexibility, there's more fluidity. And that's exactly why we created Tactic, is to be able to allow companies to have a fluid working environment, and make that happen.
And I read your review in Yahoo Finance, and Yahoo Finance says that you guys spent a tremendous amount of energy, time, and resources on market research to determine what makes for an optimal work atmosphere. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, that's great. And that's the point. So when we first got the idea, it was funny because people were like, we started talking to companies and they're like, what are you guys doing? The office is dead. Everyone's going remote forever. And, we got tons of pushback initially, and it was interesting, but we stuck to it. We, it was hard to get feedback on a fluid environment because no one was doing it, right? Everyone was working from home, but, we stuck to it. We kept trying to iterate and think of it, and talk to people, and get the future of work. And about 6 months ago, we started to see the conversation about hybrid work coming up. And then, about 4 months ago, really people started coming back to the office. So we had beta testers, we had people using our product, we got feedback, and we had so much time to do it. So we were able to land in a really great spot, now where people are going back to the office, and hybrid work really is the future. And so it's a great opportunity for us to, to take advantage. But it was a long time coming, and it was a lot of no's initially, but yeah, now it's going well, which is good.
And so for everybody's understanding, and so we're going into the context here, what is considered a hybrid working model?
Yeah, this is actually a great question. I think we're still trying to figure this one out. Not just us, but I think everyone, because truth is, it can be considered a lot of things, right? I think for us, we see it more as a fluid working environment where it's really elective when you're deciding to go in the office. I think that's a true hybrid model where you're choosing when you're going into the office. It's really a work from anywhere, I think is really what the term should be. Now you have you have hybrid models where people are talking about, you're mandating 2 or 3 days in the week where people are going in. I don't think that aligns perfectly with the true future of work. I think it's a great model. And I think, if people can pick and choose which days they're going in or not, I think it's great. But I think part of fluidity and part of the flexibility is being able to choose, right? Really, ultimately, long term, I think employees are going to want to feel like I'm empowered, that, the employer isn't telling me when I have to go in. I'm choosing. Now, of course, there's a time and a place when people should be going to the office, all hands meetings and important company updates and things. But I think, for us, true hybrid is, fluid environment. But I do understand there's multiple ways where, there's different, ways of looking at how a hybrid model could work.
And going back to what we had kind of discussed at the beginning of the live, Ford made its announcement yesterday that it was going to offer 30,000 of its employees a hybrid work model. And in that announcement, they said that it was based on a global survey, a company survey in 2020 found that 95% of Ford's global employees wanted a mix of in-person and remote after the pandemic, and many feeling happier and more productive working remotely, but also having that choice.
Yep, totally. Yeah, those are the exact stats we're seeing as well.
And so you mentioned a little bit in the answer to the last question about the shift to the flex of maybe the 3-day work week or the 4-day work week. So my question to you is, what is your perspective on the shift of the traditional work week from a 4-day work week, or maybe, and now I think it was Spain who most recently did the 5-hour day in a work week work model, and how is the tactic helping employees with this shift?
Yeah, no, this is great. I think it's funny because 2020 taught us a lot about how we are as human beings, and that a lot of our traditions and values that maybe we had or that we were taught were wrong. I think, and one of those I think also is the way we work, right? I think, we're looking at it now and we're like, why did someone ever, I have so many friends and family members that would miss their kids' baseball games or special events, because they had to be at work, right? And I think, there's a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of things that were missed. And I think the good news and the shift that's happening and what's exciting is, with having more flexibility, you're going to be able to, work isn't just everything, right? It's not your life anymore. It's, you're working life into your life versus, working your life around work, I think, if that makes sense. But I think, I think different things work for different people. And I know there's a lot of data out there that tells us that 4-day work weeks are potentially more productive than 5-day work weeks. But I also think, it's part of the flexibility in the future of work is it's really, at the end of the day, I think corporate America has always been wrong and they've never treated people like adults. Like, we're adults, we don't need to always be told what to do. I think we have things that we need to get done. And as responsible adults, we'll get them done. And I think that's the exciting part about the future of work is we're going to start treating people like adults, and we're going to, get the things done that we need to get done. And if that takes 4 days or 5 days, that's up to us, I think, ultimately. So.
Okay, I really like that, and everybody probably saw in the comments that I put up some like big high fives and some high fives and a thumbs up and some celebration, as well as raising the roof. That's because that's really what we talk about in progressive HR is that we're all adults. Well, adults, let's treat us like humans and like adults, and we can make our own decisions. And you know what? If we make mistakes, then it's a life lesson. So corporate America doesn't have to. Yeah. Totally. Corporate America doesn't have to be our big brother. So
no, not at all.
So before going into the demo, what are some of the features that we should talk about, and what tools do you integrate with?
Yeah, great question. So I think there's 3 main pillars of peak or of tactic and the how we're helping people short term and long term, and those are the features that we've really been able to tackle. And one, of course, is the main conversation that everyone's talking about today is how do we get back to the office and how do we do it safely? And so through tactic, we've enabled companies to do that through, and we'll, do a quick demo on this obviously, and be able to show people, but right, how do we get people back to the office safely? Well, there's a few components of that. One is we need to abide by CDC guidelines. We need to be able to have health questionnaires. We need to be able to limit capacity at these offices, so that way people can be 6 feet apart and not, standing on top of each other. So Tactic has, developed features to one, enable a safe return to the office, and that's, our number one priority across the board, which we've seen. Now, long term, hopefully COVID is going away, and really what we're really focused on, and a lot of our main features are around managing a culture, a collaborative culture in a fluid work environment. So how are we doing that? We have features and benefits that enable that, as people, come together and work. And then lastly, of course, and probably our best value point, I'd say, is, this is all data that companies are going to be able to collect to be able to make long-term decisions. What's best for their, for their workforce, and ultimately, long-term, does it make sense to have as much office space as you do, or do you need more? Do you need to repurpose the space? So Tactic's going to be able to give everyone the data necessary to make those, decisions backed by data versus just, guessing. And as far as integrations, we ultimately are looking to integrate with everything, right? I think, some of our top priorities right now are, getting our Slack integration up and running. Most, the majority of companies are using Slack. So whatever you see here during this demo, the idea is you can do it through Slack. And then likewise, right, integrate with your calendars and your Gmails. And, we hope to also integrate with Zapier very soon. So that way, if there are any third-party apps that people use every day, they can just tap into that with Tactic. But ultimately, we want you to use Tactic in the background of everything else that you're already using. We don't necessarily want to throw another tool onto people. We want it to really work in tandem with the tools that you're already using today.
Okay. And then with that, let's go into our demo.
Awesome. Cool. So I'll just confirm here that you're going to be able to see my screen. Just a second. Perfect. So you should be able to see Tactic pulled up here. Can you confirm that you can see that?
I do. Yes, I do see Tactic pulled up.
Perfect. So this is the exciting platform. So as an employee, what you're going to be able to see is, as an employee, when I log in, what's, at a very high level, what's going on at the office. And I'll also be able to dive in a little bit on the admin features and how we manage it from a management side of things, and making sure we, how we set this up and things like that. So at a very high level, as an employee, again, two things we're trying to tackle. One, the short-term return to the office safely. And then secondly, the long-term effects of a hybrid workplace where it's very fluid. People are in and out of the office. So, you'll see the different features in tandem and how those work. And so very high level, as an employee, I log in, I can see what's going on at the office. I can, see which desks I've already reserved for this week. And then I can also see the capacity levels, how many desks are available on any given day. Now, one of the exciting parts is really being able to know who's going to be going on, what's going on at the office, and who's going to be going in the office. So that way, as a someone that's working in a fluid environment, I'm not having to message everyone and ask Connor, hey Connor, when are you going to be in the office? When are you going to be in the office? One of the biggest challenges, which a lot of companies that have already returned have said, they've been managing on a spreadsheet, throwing on a spreadsheet, and every day, they're back and forth slacking people, asking, hey, are you going in tomorrow? Are you going in tomorrow? And it's just the constant question is who's going to be at the office. And so Tactic at a very, very, basic level is going to eliminate that problem for employees. Now, as I go in and I see that, we have, someone going in, next week, I can jump ahead, see what desks I have, see who's coming in. If I want to book my desk, I can just click on that, see which desks I have available. This system is extremely flexible. So, if you have open desks, if you have private desks, if you have certain desks assigned to certain team members, these are all things that can be built into Tactic. If people want to work half days, full days, quarter days at the office, we have that flexibility as well. But as the employer from the admin side, you're going to be able to determine which options that each individual employee has available to them to be able to book. But at a very high level, what most people doing, setting the capacity, opening the desk, most people book for the full day. I reserve that desk. As you can see, I'm now booked. Now, from the safety side of things, we do have our health questionnaire, so everyone's going to be able to, make sure they enter in the office safely. And this is going to require them to complete before going into the office. If for whatever reason they forget to take it or they don't do it, we obviously send them reminders, push notifications on their phone, email reminders. If in fact they don't take it, their booking is going to be eliminated, and they won't be able to go into the office. Now, if I, for whatever reason, accidentally fat finger, or because I really am sick, submit the wrong answers, it's going to let me know I'm at risk. I can't book. Now, a lot of people, again, back to fat finger, if I accidentally click the wrong button or I read the question wrong, I do have up to 2 hours to adjust. But the nice thing is the admins are going to be notified that, hey, just make sure, Chris is doing all right. But I, can adjust my answers. And then once I've completed that, boom, it lets me know I'm now okay to go into the office. So, again, set the office capacity, make sure, everyone can be 6 feet apart. We have the health questionnaires. Now, if for whatever reason, there's an admin that wants to be able to approve certain people that go into the office or everyone that goes into the office, we do have that ability as well. So you can approve or deny reservations. And then also as an admin or a manager, I can come in and see all my team's bookings or the whole, office bookings, and then make sure that people that are in the office have taken their health questionnaires and that they did book. And then it's something also pretty cool is just our office news and updates. So a centralized location. So that way, if there are any, news or updates that we want to share, with the office, anything cool going on, lunch, anything like that, you can just, pin that at the top. And we do incorporate conference room bookings as well, so you can select the duration, invite your teams, invite certain teams or members, specific members to your meeting, select the meeting rooms. And one cool thing that we've incorporated the meeting rooms is the capacity as well, because we want to make sure that a lot of times in the past we were booking rooms and we'd show up, we had people of 10 or 20. And I actually booked a room that could really only fit 4. So it's a great way to also see how big that room is. And then again, works very similar. I just make that reservation and it confirms me. Now, at a very high level as well, just to dive in, you do have your directory. You can see all the employees and invite team members, send them messages if you need. And then on the back office, just to show you how easy this whole system really is to set up, you can set up your multiple offices with just a click, set your capacity limits. You can create each team. You can create sub teams within teams. So engineering, you have your developers, your web guys, you have potentially IT that falls under there. So you can then create each sub team within those teams. And then to create each workstation, it's super easy. Just select your office that you're setting up. You can create office areas, individual workstations. So again, to show you the flexibility and how easy this is, as I'm setting up a desk, I can select as a single workspace, a group workspace, how many total are in that area, assign it to a certain office area, restrict it to certain teams or users. And again, this is all very easy, just a click of a button and you're good to go. And similarly with the meeting rooms. And of course, you can, edit all your users, easily add the office news and updates. And then we can also customize the questionnaire. So again, based off those CDC guidelines, which office might have certain questions you need to ask. And so that's, the basic functionality of Tactic. And then lastly, just to show you is just kind of that, the reporting. So as offices, I could filter by offices and by departments and really understand long-term the data that's backed, by, what decisions we're making, and then the departments, filter down. And then we also have contact tracing as well. So if under the unfortunate event someone did get sick, we could actually track each employee that was in the office over the course of whatever time range that they have. So yeah, hopefully that, yeah.
So if you go back to the data, we're talking about, we're looking at capacity management. And one of the things that, you said that Tactic, helps with, helps organizations with is deciding upon real estate, deciding upon capacity. So how can I use this reporting to do that? If I'm looking at, working into the future of work and what office space I do or do not need.
Yeah, exactly. So this tactics going to give you a high level overview, and we're getting more granular with the data that we're providing as well. Obviously, everything that's in our system, we have access to as far as what's going on at your office space. But again, at a very high level, what's going to really be beneficial for companies is, especially in the hybrid work environment, is if have a year lease with my office space and we have 200 employees, but we're coming in and we're only using 50%, 19%, 80% of our space. Potentially there's room there to sublease or to shrink office space and save a lot of money long term. But without tactic, I'm never going to understand that data. I'm not going to know. It's just a wild guess. So I think with that in mind, it's going to be really important for people to understand how much office space is being utilized. And then also, as you see here, if I allocate, let's just say 200 desks to the sales team, but they're only using 19%, but finance is maybe using 100% of their desks. Well, let's scrape some of these seats that we've assigned over to sales to finance. But again, without the data, we're never going to be able to know in order to make these decisions.
I think that's so very important. And you mentioned data. What other decisions, or maybe summarize the decisions that employers can make with the data collected from Tactic?
Yeah. So short term, right? Just to be, you can set your capacity limits, right? And then, that's appropriate for each team and for each member. And then also, with the safety features, you're able to, collect the data as far as with your health questionnaires. And then also you're going to have your contact tracing, which hopefully we don't have to use after 2021. But again, in the future, it would have been, so had we had this, had we had contact tracing, let's just go back a year from today, imagine the difference in maybe how we could have, stopped and prevented some of the spread, right? Obviously now we're forward thinking, which is exciting, but I think that, ultimately this is going to be something that's helpful forever. Even if someone's not using it every day, it's still good to just have the data. And then, to your point, and then just long term, right? As I'm deciding as an employer, I can make better financial decisions around my real estate to make sure I know what's going to be best for my company. So again, if I need to get bigger office spaces, if I need to create more workstations or more conference rooms, we're actually seeing a lot of conference rooms being booked out and less workstations initially. And what that means is that maybe we need to repurpose our space. Maybe we need to have more open desk flooring where people, a cool company, actually, not to go on a tangent here, but they just talked about doing like some standing desks against the back wall that doesn't take up a whole lot of room in the office, but really people are just coming in for a few hours. They want to work at that standing desk, but they really came for the meeting, so they're going to work a little bit longer and then head home. But data like that is you're going to be able to get to make those long-term decisions and then ultimately save money. Real estate, although it's cheaper, it's still very expensive. Especially, people talk about the real estate that's decreasing in big cities, but it's also increasing in every other city that's not a big city. Salt Lake itself, home values and real estate values are going up. And so it's still expensive. It's still a big expense. And so I think, be able to make those long-term decisions on, can we shrink office space and save $1 million and cut it in half, then why not do that?
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. And ultimately, what you're saying is that it's about agilely and proactively giving employees tools and resources quickly to help them work, to help them increase their productivity and to do it in a shorter span of time, going back down to the flexible work of maybe 4 days a week or maybe 5 hours a day. So
exactly. Yep.
I know I'm saying I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, we were joking, right? We were joking because at the end of the year, right, you usually have, your end of the year awards and stuff like that. We're like, people are going to have awards for who was in the office the most, and then we're also going to have awards for who was, not just who was in the office, but who, you're going to be able to tie productivity to who was in the office, right? And we're actually, everyone says productivity is better, but really, how do we know, right? But now we're actually going to get a direct comparison. We're going to have certain employees on the same team doing the same amount of work, according to the data, but results, we're going to see difference in results, and we're going to know, hey, this employee was at the office every day and they're, crushing it, and this person that's home every day is struggling. There might be a direct correlation there. We don't know yet. We don't know this information, right? We're figuring it out, but Tactic's going to give you that insight. And so as an employer, I can really know, maybe it's a manager. Maybe a manager manages people better in office than he does remote. But again, we don't know this until we have the data for it. And it's going to take a little bit to get the data, but it's crucial.
Yeah. Or the reverse. Someone's crushing it with remote work, but maybe not so much in the office. So and it goes back to me saying is like one size does not fit all. And tactic is definitely a way we can keep our employees safe. We can do contact tracing. We can do capacity management. We can give the employees the tools and the resources. And we can make better decisions on productivity and give our employees a chance for individuality as well. So that's why I really, really, really like I say like, but I mean love your technology.
Yeah.
So going back, a few people joined us. We have, we have Esmara Kazmi coming in from the UK in Skipton. And Trevor Pearson from the UK. I believe Trevor's from London. And then we have Brian coming in from Merton, Wisconsin. Hello, all. Thank you for joining us. Let us know if you have any questions for Chris, or if you have any questions for Austin. Austin is also one of the co-founders. He's on the comments right now. Austin, why don't you drop those links again in for the offering of the demo or the subscription, and then the contact information, and then also the website. So lots of information coming at everybody. We'll go back to our questions, but if you have any questions for Chris, myself, or Austin, please drop them in the comments. Or if you have any comments on what we're talking about today, we'd like to hear your opinions. We'd like to hear your views. What is the future? Is the future a hybrid work model? Is it a remote work model? Is it digital nomadism? What is the future of work? So back to our questions. And now I have to figure out where we are in this. I think this is the one I'm kind of most interested in. Is that, well, I'm interested in everything, but this is probably one of my favorite questions to ask everybody is what new features and services are you adding to Tactic in the future?
Awesome. Yeah. Do you know, is my screen still being shared?
It is not, but do you want me to go back into the share? Because I can do that.
Well, let's just do, 1 second. Yeah, because I'll hop over just to a couple things and then we can hop out. But so just real quick, like coming very, very soon, I mean, less than 30 days away, here is actually, we're going to pair our entire system with an interactive map. So, now we have the ability to upload floor plans, right? And so people, as they book, can see where things are laid out, especially for, new employees. If they've never been to the office, they were hired remote, they're going to want to know, okay, when I come in the office, where are things? But what's going to be really exciting very, very soon is clickable and very easy to use interactive map that you can just drag and drop items. So I can drag and drop each seat, and then as an employee, click and see what's available, see who's actually at the office, where they're sitting, what's going on, and then ultimately as well, for the data purposes, it's going to give you even more granular data, long term. Just being able to map out every single portion of the office and where people are at. So that's one very exciting thing that's on the on the roadmap, very quickly here. But what I also wanted to highlight while we're in here is just, this isn't totally up to date, but we have actually already launched some things that say planned here, such as like reserved desks for half day. We've actually already launched that. But what's cool is we're actually giving people the ability to submit ideas as they're working or as they're using Tactic to be like, this is really cool. And then, we're updating these timelines so people can actually see what's coming, what's launched, what's under consideration. And so we're really putting the power to our customers to be able to decide, what's next on the roadmap and what's being built.
That is awesome. I'm looking very closely here at the.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I clicked this up.
That's okay. Did you want me to go back in?
That's okay. It's okay. But yeah, the idea is, people could choose. And then the last thing too, while we're talking about is actually our NFC chips. These are live. Ideally it's gonna be really cool and they're paired with the interactive map. But part of the problem for employers, and not really necessarily it's like a problem, but how do we know if someone actually showed up to the office, right? Or how do we know that where someone sat necessarily? Maybe they booked the desk, but maybe I don't know, right? There's different scenarios where we'll want to confirm where people were. And so what we've developed is similar to like a key card when you're going into a hotel room. You can just put this at your entryway, at each desk in each conference room, really totally up to, how the office is designed and how you plan on using Tactic. But what's really cool is as an employee, or as an employer, I can put this at my entryway. And as an employee, when I show up, I just have my smartphone and I simply just, tap my phone against this, and it's going to just pop up. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just going to
Yeah,
pop up this little link. I just hit this, and it just tells me I successfully reserved, or I successfully checked into the office. So what's great about this is we're going to be able to, confirm that people are showing up, where they're sitting, and it's very inexpensive. I mean, it costs us less than $1, for each of these chips, when really hardware for a lot of these enterprise companies and that have, the hardware that, allow you to check in with your phone or QR codes and things like that, it's very expensive. But we've been able to, build this proprietary software built into our system that allows us to do it at a margin of the cost, save money for employees and employers, and then make it really easy for employees to adopt.
So one another of the many things that I really appreciate about a Tactic is the setup. So how quickly can organizations set up an account and onboard into Tactic?
Yeah, I mean, as you saw when we kind of went through it, it's every just clickable. It's very clean. You know where everything is, but matter of, depending on the organization, the size of the organization that we're working with, obviously. But if at a very basic level, we set up companies, in under an hour most of the time, right? We can have you and your entire workforce using Tactic in under an hour if you wanted. As you get more granular, you have more permissions and things like that. Maybe it takes a couple hours, but there hasn't been an instance where we haven't been able to get someone up and running within 24 hours of them requesting to use our system.
Okay. So then the link for the trial that comes with watching this live. So everybody, if you haven't noticed, that Austin's been putting links into the comments here for a free trial, because you are all the audience of Progressive HR. And that trial is for 60 days, I believe. Yes. And yep, 60-day free trial. The trial to get them set up is literally under an hour, is what you're saying.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. That's amazing.
Yep.
So
yeah.
No big time spent. An hour for a free trial. I think that's great.
Yeah.
So what other trends do you see in the future of work, and what does the future of the workplace look like in your perspective?
Yeah. So I think, we're already seeing those trends happen now with, the remote friendliness, right? And being able to work remote, right? I think for the majority of companies that we talked to, again, they were saying that, before, they were even CEOs that were very passionate about people having in the office. They're like, I don't think we need to go back in the office, right? Like we're running remotely. It's working well. So I do think, of course, like remote work is the foundation of the future of work. Being able to be flexible with that, remote first, is having a traditional office space available to people. So you'll see more and more companies adopt, the remote first environment. But I think, of course, that, office space has to exist. It will exist. It's actually going to be more impactful, the office, than it ever was before, because it's now a collaboration hub. People are now going there intentionally to collaborate with employees. Before, I had to show up to work because I had to be there. Now I'm showing up because I want to be there. If I'm an employer, I'm stoked about that, because people are showing up because they want to be there. They're choosing to come in. They don't have to, they're choosing. And as an employer, I think that's going to be amazing. That's going to be great for culture. It's going to be great for collaboration. And you're going to see relationships, employees building relationships with each other, better and easier than you ever saw before. And I think, the social aspect is going to be very important for individuals. I know there's a lot of articles out there about mental health, right? It's very important. It's something that we're all finally talking about. It took, hundreds of years, but we're now finally aware that mental health in some aspects is even more important than physical health in a lot of ways, right? And who would have ever thought, who told me I need to go to therapy over going to the gym? Like that, those are conversations that are happening now, right? That's insane. I mean, someone said that 10 years ago, therapy was a very hush hush thing, right? But now it's people are talking about it. People are aware that your mental health is very important, and there's tons of studies out there that say in-person interactions, right? Being able to be with someone physically is very, very good for your mental health. It really is. And so, not that being able to communicate here as we are now digitally is bad. It's not. It's great. It's allowing us to develop relationships that we couldn't before. But I think ultimately for our mental health, there's always going to be an aspect that we need to meet people in person and collaborate in person. And it doesn't need to be every day, but there needs to be an element, and especially for our mental health, I think it's crucial.
And to your point, I want to add, I've been reading a lot too. And like, what you were saying is that, these are things that we didn't talk about before. These are things that we knew were existed, but didn't know exist at the same time. Is that when we are in person, in order to make sure that we're using that in-person time to the best of our mental health, is that we need to be in an environment where we are able to communicate with each other and be productive, in the sense that we aren't just knocking on people's doors just to knock on people's doors. And we aren't just going to the office just because we feel we need to be in the office, because that creates burnout, and there's a lot of people out, creates burnout. And so,
well, people are burnt out of remote work. I mean, it's the same. You do anything too much, right? I mean, I was always taught growing up, like anything in moderation is good, right? Because you do one thing too much, you get burnt out, right? And so, but anyway, yeah.
I was just saying is that making the in-person interactions ones that are productive, and I think that using your technology is a way to do that. So, not just to say like we talk to somebody because we need to, or because that person, like they have the tools, like we have the tools to make ourselves and our time efficient and productive, so we can experience that good mental feeling of being in a collaborative environment with somebody. So I was adding to your point.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, you're doing it with intent now, right? And you're showing up to the office with intent to collaborate, to be with people. I mean, that's awesome. That's exciting. I'm serious. As an employer, I would be so excited to know my employees want to be here, showing up and collaborating together.
And I think what you just said is like a huge thing, is that we're doing this with intent. And so I just wanted to repeat it because I really liked it. So we have a question from Asmara. Would there be any difference in helping companies looking to start a hybrid environment from day one rather than transitioning from a more traditional model? I think that's a great question.
Yeah. No, that's a great question for sure. I think it's funny because, when we talk about from day one, right, I feel like we're at so we accelerated, and again, I don't want to go on a tangent here, but we accelerated the future of work by probably 10, 15, maybe 20 years. So where we're all at right now is we're all working remote. We're all at home. And I think, I think it's actually the reverse. I think, rather than just jumping back into how we were doing things before, I think now is a great opportunity to pick up from day one that hybrid model, right? Because, we went traditional, then we went 100% remote. I think, being able to come and meet in the middle, we knew the problems, right? We did it for years and years and years and years. We know the problems of traditional workplaces. We now understand the problems of remote work because we've now done it for a year, where we've gotten better at it 100%, but there's still problems with it. And so now I think it's the best opportunity to say, hey, let's forgive and forget the mistakes we made so long with the traditional workplace. And now that we're, coming back, let's start this with a fresh start. Let's make sure we get this right this time. Let's create those hybrid models, that flexible and fluid work environment for our employees, and allow them to come back in the office when they feel comfortable and safe. But then long term, let's give them the flexibility to work where they're most productive.
And to take another angle on Asmara's question, if I was a organization, or I'm a CEO and I want to start from day one at a hybrid work environment, Tactic would be the great technology to do that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think, that's kind of the thing is, if I'm starting from day one, I think, I've learned from my mistakes from companies I work for, things I've done, and I've done, remote work, but I think, where that where the sweet spot is, it should be what the employees want. And all the surveys tell us that the employees want hybrid. The employees want a mix. They want the option. And I think we're also learning that we should be putting the employees first. And so as we're hiring and as we're building up a company and doing things, the key is to listen to your employees and what they want. And ultimately, that should be the decision of the employer. But yeah, I think we're definitely seeing the ability for people to start, doing that from day one.
Okay, great. So everyone, we're coming up upon our quarter mark. So I'm going to do a little bit of summarization, and then I think we'll have a few more minutes to ask Chris any additional questions we have. So I wanted to let everybody know that you can contact Chris Barcus via LinkedIn on DM or Get Tactic, or any of the links that Austin is putting into the conversation. Austin, why don't you go ahead and put in the link to the website and the contact link right now again as well for those watching live or those just coming on. And myself, you can follow me or DM me at Green Woodman Hollebeck on LinkedIn, and then also Progressive HR on LinkedIn. So upcoming, the next 2 weeks, I'm going to take off for my kids' spring break and then for Easter. So there won't be a Progressive HR Live until April 8th, which we'll be talking with Nick Myers, the CEO of Red Fox AI, and we're going to be talking about voice technology, and specifically voice technology in elevating healthcare for our employees. And then the following week, April 15th, Robert Brown from Illumo, which I know that you guys Tactic went head to head with Illumo at the Shark Tank in Utah. So Robert Brown from Illumo, the CEO of Illumo, is coming on. We're going to be talking about employee experience technology, is specifically about quantifying employee experience. So that's it for my summarization. Before we end the conversation in about 10 minutes or so, does anyone have any last questions for Chris? And as we're waiting for those questions to come in, I want to go back to one of the things that you said is that, COVID accelerated our digitization or a digital transformation, the future of work about 10, 15, 20 years. So I want to know what is your opinion on the number of years? Because my opinion is 5 to 10, and then you used 15 to 20. So what in your opinion, what supported that? Like what supports that?
Yeah, great question. And for me, I come from the travel software startup scene. So I worked for, a tech startup in the travel scene, and they're very passionate about people, doing cool things. They would give everyone, 2 weeks off in Christmas, and like the entire organization, because they wanted people to go have experiences, be with your family, do fun things, right? But at the same time, they were still super traditional. They were like, you got to be in the office. Yeah, they were a startup, and they, should be, with the times. And so what that told me is that the times when they started their startup meant that still meant people were in the office. And I think, to me, that was the telling sign. Is every company I ever worked for, I had to be in the office. I never, there was of course times where, if I had something going on, I could go finish my work at home or something like that. But I have a very, my background is startups, and I believe that startups are the companies that take on, what's happening and what's the most modern way of working. Usually it's startups that adopt that. And so from my background and what I saw, most companies were still adopting the traditional workplace. And I think even the data tells us that less than I think it was 5%. I'll have to double check, but I believe it's less than 5% were 100% remote employees before the pandemic in the entire workforce. So to bridge that gap, I think that we were still very far off, and that's where I come from. But again, and I also don't know. I mean, what was gonna make the change happen, right? I think there had to have been, kind of an event like this, unfortunately. But it might have taken in other words, it might have taken an event with at the level that we had to have in order to accelerate it. Otherwise, I don't know why someone would want to change. And then you have the last impact is just you're traditionally the CEOs and higher ups right now are still baby boomers, right? And so they're very traditional. You're now finally starting to see the millennials, but I'd still say millennials are still very mixed. Most of them still follow patterns of the past. I think the Gen Z, you were still probably 10, 15, years before they're in executive positions, at least. I don't know. I mean, it's all a wild guess, but then,
I think you mentioned something really interesting is that the
yeah.
baby boomers being the CEOs and the I would say the gap in the traditionalism of the leaders of the organization. And I think that if this didn't happen, one of the things that if COVID didn't happen and this move towards digitization, digital transformation, I use both because I know that they're different. And Emma Roloff and I talked about this in like a past Progressive HR Live. But one or the other, we're still kind of working out we're still mainstream working out the difference between digitization and digital transformation. But going back to what I was saying is in the traditional is that if COVID hadn't pushed people, or if the work at home or the stay-at-home order hadn't pushed people, I think a lot more traditional organizations in the next 5 years would be dropping off the radars because of the other organizations, like you mentioned, like the startups with the younger generation, bringing in artificial intelligence and RPA, and these other organizations who had more traditional methods just may not have been able to compete. And at one point, they would have been like, "Oh, we've just missed the ball." So I think that's an
100%.
interesting point that you bring up. So,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah,
everybody.
we'll never know, but
We'll
I would
never
say,
know.
yeah, we'll never know, but I am of anything that was positive that we could say came out of this, I'd say it was, we've really realigned what's important as far as the workplace goes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, despite everything that happened and the tragedy, I think that it was for the future of work. It was an important step. So.
100%.
All right, everybody, it looks like we're ending a little bit early, which is great because then you can get some tea tea or coffee before you head on to your next Zoom or meeting or live. So I wanted to say thank you very much to everybody joining the live today. I greatly appreciate you taking your hour out of your Thursday to talk with Chris and I. And Chris, thank you so much for demoing Tactic for us and talking with us today. And thank you, Austin, for being in the comments and being there to answer any questions and dropping those links. So thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. It's been fun, and hopefully we can do it again in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, resourceful humans, have a wonderful Thursday. Signing off now.